Moving ahead to the first technology, that is HTML. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So this is just a technical stuff. So let's move to understand what HTML is all about. The HTML is all about tags. We write different kind of tags and which is rendered by our web browser and we see some output. So tags are the basic building block of the HTML document. And as you can see, these are the basic syntax of the tag. So the tag generally have a starting tag and an ending tag. So the tag are of two types. Some are paired tags and some are unpaired tags. So the paired tags are like those tags which have a opening and a closing. So if we start a HTML by this, then we must have a closing tag also of HTML. But these unpaired tags do not have a closing tag. They are just used as it is. So moving ahead, we will discuss through some of the tags and the most important part of this session, we will have handout experience on these tags. So let's start with the basic tags like the HTML. So the HTML tag denotes the starting and the ending of a HTML document and followed by there are in the HTML there are two kinds of tag, the head tag and the body tag. So the head tag is used to denote the header section of the HTML document, which mainly consists of the title and some meta tags, which is used for search engine optimization to make the Google decide which website to rank first and rank last. So this is all decided by the header section of the website and which is in added in the head tag. So next is the title. The title you add in the title tag will be displayed at the top of the tab. The tab name will be basically your title of the web page. The body is all the content which you will see actually rendered on the web browser. So without wasting time, let's jump into the boilerplate code. So this is the code that you will use to write a HTML document. Each time you have to write the same code, and between these body tags, you have to write the code that you want to be rendered. So let's understand what this boilerplate code actually does. So the first line of this code is doc type HTML, which tells that this document that we are writing is a HTML document, followed by the HTML tag with the attribute lang equals to en, which denotes that whatever we are writing in this document is in English language. Then comes the head tag. Head tags contain first meta tag, which denotes that the cassette is UTF-8. That means the encoding is UTF-8 encoding. This meta tag is optional. This basically tries to provide the compatibility with the older browser. If you are using Internet Explorer or maybe a very old browser, then also your website will render properly in that also. Then the this meta tag is very important because it set the width of the website to the device width. So in the latter part of the session, you will see that there are many unit which are defined on the width and the height of the uh, browser. So this will actually uh, define the width of the website to the width of the screen on which you are using the website. So you can use that unit of length like VH and VW. Uh, these are viewport height and viewport width. So you first have to define the viewport. This tag is to define the viewport. So now comes the title tag. So as I mentioned earlier, the title tag is used to give the title to the web page. When I will code the website, I will show you where the title actually goes. Then comes the body tag and under which you will write everything. So now the question arises, do we need to remember this? So the answer is no. We can easily get this code by simply pressing an exclamation mark and then pressing enter. So let me show you. So if we press exclamation mark and press enter, you can see everything comes. So I hope you guys have installed the live server extension, which was mentioned in that document. So it will facilitate us to load this document and do a live refresh. So as you can see, here the title is document, and this document is written over here. If I will change this document to NJACK session, you will see this title will change to NJACK session. So let's move forward. So headings. So while writing the stuff in the body part, we need some headings to write whatever thing we are writing. So there are six kind of heading. They are generally the H1 is the biggest of all these, and the H6 is the smallest in the decreasing order of their sizes. So let me show you. So if I write in H1, so you can see this is the size of a H1 tag. So, and if I will write in H6, the same stuff, if I will write in H6, then this is the size of H6. You can understand the difference between these. So, uh, if I want to displace every tag from H1 to H6, there's a shortcut here in VS Code. You should write uh, H dollar and then press enter. Sorry, H dollar star 6 and then press enter. So it will the dollar is basically replaced by numeric character, and since I wanted six of them, so in first the dollar is replaced by 1, in second the dollar is replaced by 2, and so on till the last one where dollar is replaced by 6. Now if I want to write anything here, so after writing it, I will press tab and I will go to the next line and next space where I have to write. So like this. But if you want to write in all the stuff at once, so VS Code has a great functionality of multi-cursor support. So you can create a lot of cursors by simply pressing the Alt key and clicking on wherever you want a cursor, and then you can write like this. So the multi-cursor you can also generate. There's one more shortcut key. You can press, yeah. Now whatever keys I will press, you will see on the screen, so that it will easy for you to catch up. So I can press Control Alt and down key to create uh, cursors in a row. So you can see now I can write at all the tags at once. And if you are using a physical mouse, then also you can just press the scroll wheel and drag it down to create multiple cursors. So all of these shortcut keys give you the same output. So now let me show you. These are the H1 to S6 all the tags, and you can see the variation of sizes in them. So uh, now there is paragraphs. So let me directly show you what a paragraph is. So if you simply type P and press enter, the VS Code will automatically get P tag for you. And so if I have written a sentence in the paragraph, so you can see this paragraph is rendered here. This is paragraph. So now if I will press enter, and if I want to add some text in another line, let's say this is another line. Uh, but you can see this text is not added to the other another line. This is in the same line. So it doesn't matter how much line gap you will give, it will always remain in the same line until unless you will give a BR tag. So uh, BR tag is used to break a line. That means this is considered to be the first line, and after this, whatever text is, this is considered to be the second line until unless it will face the BR tag again. So see this is divided into two lines. So there is one more thing. If you want to add a horizontal line instead of this rule, you can also add horizontal line over here using HR tag. So the HR tag adds a horizontal rule, and you can customize the height, width, and color, everything from CSS, which will be covered in the latter part of this session. So let's move forward. So there's a simple quiz I want you guys to answer. You can unmute yourself, or maybe you can answer it in the chat box also. So this is the question. How many sizes of headers are available in HTML by default?
6.
Yeah, correct. So the answer is 6. So let's move ahead. Now comes links and images. So uh, let me give you demonstration about that. So what a link is used to, uh, for example, I want to, so as you can see, this is the syntax of adding a link. So this will be the text that will be displayed over the website, and when the user will click on this text, he will be taken to this website, that is github.com. So let's see. Uh, as you can see, this is in blue color. When I will click it, it will take me to the GitHub page. This is the GitHub. But there is a problem. When you click on this link, your current website is loaded into the GitHub one. So you don't want that. You don't want the user to go to some other website after closing your website. So for that, what you can do, you can add a target equals to underscore blank here. So what this target equals to underscore blank will do, when the user will click on this GitHub text, another tab will open which have the link github.com. So this is much more beneficial. So this is all about links. Uh, Now you can also customize the color of the links, but nowadays this all tasks are done through CSS, which we will cover in the latter part of the session. So moving forward, adding images. So as you can see, in this folder, I have a image, this image named logo.png. So if I want to add an image, we will use img tag. So once you type img and press enter, the VS Code will give you this kind of tag where there is option to add source and add the ALT. So ALT is alternate text. In case if the image is not loaded, then this text will be displayed to the user. So first, let's um, add the source as logo.png and alternate text like NJACK logo. So now if you will see, this is the logo being rendered. So in the source section, you can, if your image is somewhere else, then you can add a complete path. If the image is a URL, then also you can paste the complete URL in the src column, and the image will be rendered. So if I want to adjust the height and width of this image, this also can be done through the CSS, but uh, you can use HTML also. So in case width equals to, let's say, 50, um, and height equals to 50, so you can see the height and width are set to 50. So tweaking these values, you can easily uh, create the picture of your own size. So moving ahead, after images, um, we have comments. Comments are very useful actually when you are coding, because when you write codes, it will be a very long, and when you visit it after many time, like maybe some months or some years, then you forgot you the exact code you have written did what task. So for example, this image, uh, maybe this is a very simple example, so everyone knows that img tag inserts an image, but still, if I want added an image of NJACK, so I can add a comment like this. So the basic syntax of comment is, the comment is started by this uh, and ended by this, and you can add multiple lines over there. For example, if I want to comment out this whole section, so the shortcut key is control and backslash, which is displayed on my screen also. So if you will press that, the whole section will be commented out, and now if you see the output, that section will not be rendered anymore. So as you can see, no more h2 to h6. So this is all about comments. So now the time for quiz. So which tag is used to render an image on web page? So anyone can unmute himself or herself. You can give the answers in the chat also.
IMG.
Yeah, correct. So IMG tag is used. So moving forward, the next main thing which is used quite a lot are tables. So let's start creating a table. So to create a table, first you have to use the table tag. Inside table tag, uh, you can uh, use this TR. So the TR basically denotes the table row, and TD is table data. So let me first show you the output of this code. So as you can see, there are three rows here. So in the code also, see, this is the first row, this is the second row, and this is the third row. Okay. So, and each row has these three columns. So you can see here also, each row has three columns. So now there's a difference, that these contents are bold and these are not. So because these are headings. So for adding a table heading, we generally use th tag, which stands for table heading. So inside table heading, if we are writing first name, then the first name will act as a table heading, and it will be displayed in slightly different font style, and it's generally bold. So now if you are thinking that in the presentation there is a border there, and here there is no border, so you can add a border like this. So you can see there is a border outside the table, and using this uh, number, you can customize the width of the border. Like this is a very thick border, and this one was very thin border. So you can add the border through CSS also, which will be covered later. So uh, let's move on. So now comes the concept of call space and call span and row span. So To demonstrate col span and row span, let me create one more data. Um, let's say Mary. Uh, so now we have 4 rows, and each row consists of 3 columns. So um, first, let's see. This is the table now. So if I want that instead of this first name and last name, it should be very good if I have a single column consisting of name here. So I want these 2 columns to be merged, and in place of that, a name would be written there. So for that, I will do? So I will write call span, and I need 2 columns to be merged together. So I will write 2, and now I will write only name in that, and now there is no need of this last name here. I'm commenting out so that when I will share the code to you, you guys can uncomment and run it once. So as you can see, the first name and the last name, instead of first name and last name, now there is just name, and these two uh, cells have concatenated. Now, if I want that these two are 20 and I want to merge these two, the 20 in the second row and in the third row. So I'll go here, and since I want to merge 2 rows, so I will add row span and 2. So now this 20 has no more meaning, so I will comment it. So as you can see, this 20 is there, and these two cells are merged together. So this is all about col span and row span. So the col span is used to merge 2 columns together, and row span is used to merge 2 rows together. So um, moving forward, uh, again a question. So which of the following tags is used to add a row to the table in HTML? So anyone?
TR.
Yeah, so it's tr. Tr tag is used to add a row in table in HTML. So now comes the list. So lists are used at many places. Even the nav bars that you see in various websites are created using list. So let's see how to create a basic list. So basically lists are of 2 types. One is ordered list and one is unordered list. As you can see here, in unordered list there is no numbering here, all are dots. You can customize this also, but in the ordered list there is numbers. Maybe you can add alphabets also. So this is the difference between unordered list and ordered list. So let me create a unordered list first. So for creating an unordered list, we use the tag UL. U stand for unordered and L stand for list. So unordered list. And inside unordered list, we use li tags to create individual entities. So li stand for list item. So we are listing an item to the unordered list. So for example, HTML. Uh, uh, According to my key binding, if I press shift enter, then I will move on to the next line, no matter where my cursor is. But I guess by default it's control enter. So once check it in your configuration, what it's. So uh, like this, I can add mini, but as I told you earlier also, so using using VS Code emits, you can easily do this. If I need 3 more LIs, so I simply write LI, multiply the asterisk symbol and then 3. So the 3 LIs will be generated, and now I can easily write by pressing the tab key. Once I press the tab key, it will go to the next space where I have to write, and like this. So if I will show you the output, so as you can see, this is a unordered list. So there is dot, but if I will change this UL to OL, then you can see there are numbers instead of dots. So this is ordered list. So by the way, if you will change the above tag, the below tag is also changing. It's an extension you guys can install. This is auto rename tag. If you will install, then once you change the starting tag, the closing tag will automatically get changed. So um, now let's come back to the presentation. So now comes the nested list. Sometimes you need some list within a list, like this. Uh, the coffee, tea, this black tea and green tea are types of tea. So these are written inside this tea. So sometimes we need this type of list, and these are called nested list. So this is a nested list constituting of a unordered list inside a unordered list. So we can create any combination, like here. Let us create a ordered list within an unordered list. So again, there is a shortcut for creating that. So if you need a ordered list, you need OL tag. Inside the OL tag, you need some list item. So OL and then this greater than sign, and then LI. That means you need LI inside the OL tag. And then if you need two list item, then you should write asterisk 2 and press enter. So as you can see, it creates a OL tag, and inside it, it will create two LI tag. So let's say uh, here I write this and delete this thing. So now if you will see the output, so as you can see, this is the ordered list, and this ordered list is uh, written with a space here. So this is a tab space, maybe five spaces. So if you will add one more list item here, like this, then see that number 3 appears. But if you will add a list item outside this OL, like here, so as you can see, this comes in unordered list. So whatever you will write inside this OL tag will be rendered here in React, Vue, Angular, and if you will add some more thing, then it will come at the fourth position. And then after that, if you will add after this OL tag, then it will come in the unordered list. So uh, let's there is one more quiz. So how to create an unordered list in HTML? So anyone? We want to
OL.
create an ordered list. What?
OL.
Yes, correct. So using OL tag, we can create a ordered list in HTML. So now comes the concept of classes and IDs. So what these classes and IDs are used to. So in the latter part of the session, when you will see CSS, so we need we when we need to apply CSS to some element, then that element should be identified first. So to identify element, we use classes and IDs. So classes are used to identify similar kind of element. For example, all the LIs should have similar kind of styling. So we will add a class to it. While if I want that the first LI should be a kind of different thing, then I will add a unique ID to it. So ID must be unique, and classes can be same for many elements. So uh, to add a class, for example, I want a paragraph with a class paragraph, or maybe para. So p dot para, when we write the word we write after dot is added as a class by VS Code. This is a emit. So yeah, this is a paragraph with class para. So now if you want to add a paragraph with ID as maybe para1, so you should use a hash. So whatever word you will write after the hash will VS Code will automatically add it like ID. So this is a paragraph with ID para1. So now if you want to add both ID and class to a paragraph, so like this, p dot para hash para2. So what it will do, it will add a class para and ID para2 both at once. So this is about classes and IDs. Um, Now moving back to the presentation. Now comes the one of the most important and widely used thing in HTML, the forms. No matter where you go, you will find forms everywhere. So uh, let's let me create a new file for creating this form. So creating a new file will make you revise some concepts. So we started with this. Pressing the exclamation mark, we can uh, create this boilerplate template. Then we can add title in that. Now H1 is used to denote a heading, the biggest heading. Uh, so to make a form, we will use form tag. And when you type form and press enter, then this is a VS Code snippet that you get. So form action equals to. So inside this, mm, let me add index.html. So what happens when you submit this form, then you will automatically redirect it to this web page. So you can maybe enter any URL also. Then after the completion of this, you will send to that URL, and the URL will slightly change that I will show you. So okay, for your knowledge, let me show you. I am getting the suggestions due to another extension, which is Copilot. You can see, search. It's GitHub Copilot. If you will install this extension, then this is a AI-based extension which will provide you such long code snippets at once. So let me show you what it has written. So uh, it has written uh, first is the label tag. So why this label tag is used, let me come first to the input. So actually the input will create a, okay, uh, I have to open this with live server. I have created another document. Yeah. So this kind of thing is input. This is the input field. So now, as we see, the input field is of type text. That means we can type any text here. And you can see beside the text input box here, you see name, email, ID, name, email, password, and phone, and they are labeled. So we are writing for equals to name. So it will find input with name equals to name, and there it will attach. So this label is for input with name equals to name, and uh, the placeholder. So the thing that you will sing, enter your name here as a hint. This hint is coming by this placeholder attribute. So if you will press in the right, enter your name in the placeholder, it will be displayed here. And this required makes that field required. Until unless you fill out that field, you can't submit that form. I will show it. Uh, so let me create a button. So inside the button, I will write type equals to submit. Means pressing this button will submit the form, and the button will look like this. Inside the button, a submit will be written. So like this, you will get a submit button, and when you click on this, see, please fill out this field. Since this field is required, so it is giving this kind of thing. So let me go ahead. So this is the first input type, that is text. The next input type is email. So if you want to add something random here, so you can't submit it because this is not a valid email format. The valid email format must contain at the rate. So if I will write something like this, then it's okay. Okay. So and this is, if you are asking a user for email, then it's better practice that you should use input type equals to email for data validation. So next comes the password. So for password, you must use type equals to password, because if you use type equals to text, then it will display the password like this, which is not secure. So you should use type equals to password. So uh, and now let me create some more type of form, like label, let's say, for gender. Okay. And okay, so input. So input, we will write type equals to radio. So what a radio is, let me tell you. So before that, let me, yeah. So a radio is basically a true false kind of a thing. You can choose one of the many radio buttons. So for example, this is male, uh, and or let me do one thing. I'll copy line down. I have a shortcut key control D for this. Maybe you guys have a different shortcut key for this. So as you can see, this male and the female, I can choose only one out of these two. Once I choose male, the female is automatically um, unselected. So now what happens if I try to fill the form? So like this, I fill the form and click on submit button. So as I mentioned earlier, this comes to our previously designed page, but there is a little difference. You can see after that, in the URL, after the URL of that page, all the things that we have written in the form are saved here. Name equals to something, email equals to something, password equals to something. But you can see the gender equals to on, which doesn't create any sense. That gender equals to on means what? Is it male or is it female? To fix this error, what we will add a value thing. So I need to add value in both of them. So I will use the multi cursor functionality and then type value equals to male and add a female. So now if I type um, anything and if I submit, so you can see I have chosen gender equals to male, so it's showing gender equals to male. Now moving forward, uh, let's create some more uh, like language. Okay. So now for this input, uh, when you are not getting any suggestions, you can use control spacebar to get suggestions. So input type equals to checkbox. Okay. So using checkbox, we can create uh, a radio like thing, but it will allow user to uh, select multiple out of many. So it's kind of a multiple correct question that you have faced in the JE. So like this, maybe English, uh, and I will copy it down. Yeah, before copying it, this time I don't want to forget about this. So now I will copy it down. So uh, I want to change this and this at once. So I will use this and okay. So now what will happen? Uh, you can see I can um, select multiple fields out of this. So moving on, the uh, last thing that I have to cover is uh, this thing. So this is for the country. I am creating a drop down. So what's a drop down is? Let me tell you. This is kind of a drop down. So whatever options are there, I can select any one option out of these. So this is the syntax for creating a drop down. So if I will fill something and uh, submit it, so I want you to see the URL. So as you can see, the gender equals to male. So I have selected selected two languages, English and Hindi. So there are two languages. In country, I have selected USA. So it's showing USA. So by this, we have covered all these slides, the checkbox and the drop down also. So I have shown you the action will send you to the different page. So there is a last quiz there, that how to create a ordered list in HTML. So anyone?
OL.
Yeah, correct. We use OL for that. So there are a lot of tags in HTML, and I think we can't cover each and every tag here in this short session. So we will send you some blogs and website links where you can refer to different types of tags and try it yourself. And if you will face any problem, then you can post it over the WhatsApp or in the Discord channel. So after this, there is CSS. So I will hand over this presentation to Aritra, who will carry it forward and show you some concepts of CSS. So thank you.
Hello, am I audible? Hello,
Yeah, 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 Aritra, you are audible.
let's start. Okay, I hope the screen is visible. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Can
yeah,
Anurag can you
yeah,
confirm?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
so
Screen is visible.
let's start. So CSS, we'll starting with CSS. What is CSS? CSS is basically the technique which we use to add styles to a page. Its full form is cascading style sheet. We use CSS to add some beautiful styles to web page, as we have seen with HTML that the web pages do not look that much professional, neither they look that much pretty. So we want to make them look a bit more professional and more user friendly experience for the users. For that we use cascading style sheets. So what we can see here is a very bare minimum basic syntax of a CSS, where we add a selector, and after that we mention a property and give a colon and then give a value with of the property. So like we can see, this is a p, which is a paragraph tag, and inside that we are mentioning the CSS by a property a colon value. After that we are giving semicolon. So color red and text align center are the property value pairs. So this is the basic structure of CSS. And In almost all the css we are actually referencing the tags where we want to apply the css. For that we can use like we can use p, which is a paragraph tag, which will apply this css to all the p tags that are present in the entire html document. So it may be a case that we want to apply the css to only a select few tags. For that we can use classes or ids. Like if we use a if we use css, give css to a class name, it will only apply the css to the members of that class, and same applies with the id. So these are few of the css selectors which we can use. There are also different kinds of more selectors which we will discuss in another session. So these are, so moving on, there are there's a special selector star. Star is actually a global selector, which means that the css we specify within star, they're applied to the entire html document as a whole. This is sometimes very much useful, as we'll be seeing in a few minutes. And along with that we can give the same css to multiple tags at once by specifying the names with commas. Moving on, yeah, so there is a question which we can, how we can select a element to specific id in css. So we use hash as our selector in that case. I will be showing that in a while how we can use that. So how to add the css, there are three ways of adding the css. We can use link tag to link a external css in our page. We can also write css within our html with the style tags. We can write css in the head with the style tags also, in the and in the tags with the style attribute. So these are few of the ways. We'll be mainly we using the external css, where we'll be using the link tag to add the css, and in some special purposes we can use the style tags within the head to mention the css. So moving on, so there are three ways, as I said, that css can be written. So we can add comments in css. These are standard c++ like comments. These are single line comment or multiple line comments, both are possible in css. So now we'll be moving to color values, how we can add colors. For colors we can use a background color attribute, and for colors we can use a background color attribute. There are different ways of saying, there are different ways of specifying color, which is the rgb or the hexadecimal string or the hsl. I'll be showing few of them. Here if we search color picker, so we'll be getting something like that in a google search. So we can get any color that we want by selecting by using the sliders and the marking dots. So after that we find the hex value. This hex value can be directly used in any css to get the desired color in our web page. Moving on, we have mm, okay, css background, how we can add background to a web page. For background we generally use the background color property or the background image property. Both the background color applies a color to the background image gives the image to the background. Moving on, we have height and width. We can give height and width to different css elements, as in the height and the width. I'll be showing each of them in a few minutes. After that we have css text. We can add different colors, alignments, everything, and decorations like overline, underline, within different kinds of css tags like the h1 tag. Here we are adding the green color to the h1 tag. Here we are adding the text align center. So moving on, we can add fonts in css. There is okay, so before moving on, let me show you some of the demos in the css with the form that was created here. So let's start by viewing the web page once. uh, let's start by doing a live share here. Okay, so okay, I hope it is visible. Just a minute. Yeah, I think it isn't saved. Okay, so let me start the share. Here I will run the web page in a browser. For that, I'll be first copying this HTML. Okay, so okay, so let me start the live server. So it started. Yes, it's visible now. Okay, so here we can see some of the elements that here Anurag added. So I'll be just modify. I'll just remove some of these tags and show you how we can do this. How we can add the CSS to these different tags. For that, I'll be first removing this logo as I don't have this logo file available. And after that, I'll be adding a form tag here. Okay, so this is a very simple form which we can see here. Yes, so this is a very basic form that I have added. Now let's start by adding some CSS. I'll be removing these tags. Okay, so first of all, what we face the issue. The issues we are facing is um, the tags here are aligned horizontally. We might not want that. We want to make our form vertical. So for that, what we'll do, we'll first add a class to this form. So for to add a class, we'll use the class attribute. The class of this form will be, let's say it is something like new form, or maybe give it a more professional name like container. Okay, so this is the class of the form. Let's add a new style. We'll be adding this CSS style page where we'll be making our CSS. So to add this style page, we'll have to give a link command. There is a nice shortcut for that. We'll be just writing link colon CSS in the VS Code. Then we can see this auto suggestion. We can click this and will find that yes, we have linked this CSS, this style sheet and the style.css. So now now let me just turn on screencast so that you can see what I'm typing. So yes, so this is the style.css. So now let's add a heading to the format first. This is a heading h1. Okay, so this is the heading of the form. So the first thing we notice that we we are having some gap with the heading. Okay, so for to that to understand, let me just first container. Container is this class. We are adding some style to this form. So let me first add a margin. It's not margin, sorry, border. First add a border here. Border with width only 1 pixel. The border will be solid border and the color of the border will be black. So I can add all three styles in a single line, 1 pixel solid black. We can see that there is a border here. So when we see this border, there is another thing that we will notice that there is a gap between the border and the actual ends of the page. Okay, so these gaps are actually the margin given in a HTML page, margin and padding that are by default they are present. So we don't have to add any CSS for that to add those margin and padding. So but most of the times we don't want these things, so we can manually remove them by doing the global CSS and writing margin 0 and padding 0. So these two lines are mostly known as CSS reset. CSS reset. So these things work as CSS reset commands. So now we can see that the borders exactly coincides with the ends of the HTML page, which is very much useful when we want to write our custom CSS. We don't want any pre-written CSS to override our styles. So now what we'll be doing is we are we just disable this for a while. Disable the copilot. Okay, so now what we'll be doing is we'll try to make the thing vertical. We'll try to make the form vertical. So for that we'll be adding some break tags initially. We are for new lines. But just a note that we don't use BR tags in most of the professional projects, as there is a few problems with BR tag that we'll be seeing. We mostly try to use insert new line with CSS. There are many ways to do that. We'll be seeing that in later sessions. So but for this session we'll be learning the only the basic CSS. So yes, now this thing is vertical. Now what we want is that uh, the form is sticking to the left side of this page. So we might think that yes, it is better if the form is in the middle of the page, it will look nice. So for that thing we can use a alignment. Just as I showed in the slide, we can use a alignment command, text align center. This Okay, so this command, what it does, it brings the entire form to the center of this page. As we can see, it is looking a bit better now. The As we move this thing to the same, as we move the form to center, this thing is looking way better. Now what we are doing that the form we're seeing that all the inputs that we have provided, they are actually very small and they are not that much, the visibility is not that great. So for that we'll be adding new classes here, like in all the inputs we'll be adding our new we'll be adding classes like mm, okay, let me just quickly add some classes to these inputs. Class equal to, okay, perfect. So now we'll be turning this class input. All of these, I will style all of this together, input, and only this is the submit button, will be styling this as the btn class. So now what I'll do, I'll be using the dot input to reference the input class. Now I'll be adding a little bit of margin and padding. So for that, for to understand what is margin and what is padding, let me show you what is the css box model. So for that, I'll be showing this slide. This is the css box model. What does it does that what you are seeing here is a very important concept in css. What it does, it does this, the central, this bluish part, this is the actual content. Just outside this is the green area, this is the padding. After outside the padding, this is the border. Outside the border is the margin. This thing, this shows the fundamental arrangement of css when we add different border, margin and padding to the css, how it will arrange one on top of other. The content is in the bluish part, that is the central part, and the border is the outside border of the content content that we create with the border command in the CSS. Inside the border we have padding, outside the border we have margin. So that's the most important thing, that inside the border we have padding and outside the border we have the margin. So for this thing, for this form to have some outside to, for the input to have the gap on between two inputs, we need to specify a border, because we need to specify a margin, because we need space on the outside of these inputs. On the, if we want to give space on the inside of the inputs, we need to give padding. I'll be showing both. So let's start with margin. Margin I'll be giving 5 pixel. What it does, it separates the inputs on the outside. Now if I add padding 5 pixel, see it gives some separation, some space in the inside of the element. So now this is looking really nice. The in the it visually is looking nice. So that's how we add margin and padding to a form. Now we'll be styling this form a little bit more. So for that we'll be first of all we'll be giving it a width. For that, let's see the container. Here we want to give the container a little bit of width, because as we can see, the container is the margin, the border of the container that we added. This was for visualizing where the container goes. So we can see the container takes the entire width of the browser. For to make the container a little bit, we might want to give it a width to make the, to make it, squeezed at the center maybe. So for that we want to add maybe a width of 50%. What does it do? Okay, let me add the semicolon. Okay, what does it do? It will decrease the width of the container. Now the thing is that when I add the text align center, it will align the form, the entire form with respect to the container. So it will not be aligned with respect to the entire page. It will be aligned with respect to its parent element. The parent element in this case is the container. So every child with inside its parent element will be aligned with respect to the parent element. So what have to, so if I want to make this container at the center of this page, I might want to add a CSS to the body tag. So I'll be adding text align center. Okay, so maybe this didn't work. So the thing is that why it didn't work on body, because in this container it's not a text tag. So what do I have to do? I have to add some margin to the container. For that, to add margin, we can use a special tag which is margin. That is a value of margin 0 comma auto. What that does is this auto, what does this auto does, it distributes the margin. Uh, it it actually calculates the margin automatically and distributes them. Okay, so what does that margin 0 comma auto do? The first entry decides the top bottom margin. The second entry decides the left right margin. I give the top bottom margin as 0. What does that mean? There will be no margin in the top and in the bottom. I give the second margin as auto, which means that the second margin will be determined automatically in both the sides. What does that do? It will create a equal gap in both the right and left sides of the website. So how will we see that? Let me just show you. We'll be clicking the inspect, which will open the inspect element browser console, which will inspect element tag. So this thing is very useful when you are doing designing. When we hover over the form, we can see that if we just if we can visualize this. Okay, so here you can see the box model entirely. This blue thing is the content. We have corner, there is a border, there Okay, so now let's go on to add more CSS to this page. So one thing we can see that if we decrease the browser width more, the form starts to look not so nice. So for that we have to give the form a minimum width attribute. What will happen is after we give it minimum width, so minimum width will add a minimum possible width. After that the font will not shrink. So let me give a minimum width of 200 pixel, I guess. What will it do? After, if it the form is smaller than 200 pixel, it won't shrink. Just see it you are, I think it is visible to you that the form is shrinking up to a certain width, and then it is remaining constant in its width. So this is the
Uh,
the minimum
Aritro,
width. So I think,
I guess
yes, oh
your
yeah.
screen is unshared. I guess your screen is unshared.
Yes. Okay, I think it just stopped.
Yeah,
Okay, it's visible now.
yeah. Now it's visible.
Okay. Okay, did I was able to show this part, or I have to just repeat?
You have to
I just
repeat.
set the min width of the form. Okay, I just set the min width of the form. I am just showing it. So the thing is that if I set the min width, what will it do that if I start to decrease the width of the browser, the form will become so much thin that it won't be visible. It won't be visible that much. So I want to specify a minimum width after which the form won't shrink. Otherwise, this width 50% will continue to keep the width 50%, and after a time it will look like this when the inner elements are getting overflown, and it will look not good. So I'm just adding this minimum width, and it looks a lot more nicer. That yes, it's fixed. It The width becomes fixed after a certain limit. So after that we can add some more CSS, like we can add a separation between the heading and the main content of the body. So for that I'll be adding it a, maybe I'll add it id equal to, okay, so I'll be adding it id of heading, and maybe I can add here a tag heading. So margin, I'll be giving it a margin bottom, margin. So here you can see the suggestion. I'll be adding at a margin bottom of 10 pixel. I hope it looks good. Yes, there is a slight bit of space available here now. In the container, I want to give a margin top of I guess what 20 pixel might look fine. So okay, let me just check. Mm, okay, so the margin top didn't work. So okay, so we can see that the margin top is cut. So there, I think this container tag is okay. So there is a, this margin top is overwritten by another tag. I'll be showing that in a while. So after this tag, I'll be doing another style tag to add CSS to the button. So for that, I'll be adding the btn tag. I'll be first adding a padding into the button so that it will look nice. Padding of 5 pixel. This makes the button a bit larger. Then I'll be adding it a margin of 10 pixel. Okay. Now I might want to, make the text a little bit larger. So in the input, in the btn tag, I'll make a font size of, I guess what, 20 pixel. Let's try. Okay, 20 pixel. Okay, so it became a bit larger. I hope it looks great. So now we might add some more colors, but before that I want to show you how adding a font might improve the look of this page. So to add fonts, what we'll do, we'll search Google Fonts. So here we are in the Google Fonts website. We'll be clicking the Fonts tab. Here there are many fonts available. We can use any one of these. I think this font looks good. So I'll be choosing the extra light 200, extra light 200. Just click plus on the extra light 200, and here on this side you will get the instructions on how to add this to the HTML or the CSS. So as we are doing CSS here, we'll be using the second process. We'll be using the import URL syntax. We'll just copy this line from import to the semicolon part, and we'll just paste them in the CSS at the top of this file. Okay, so what does it do? It will just change the CSS. It will just add the fonts. Now to change the font, we'll have to use the font family tag in the CSS. I want to use the font in the entire form. So yeah, I just added the fonts. To add the fonts, here is also the font family tag given. What we have to use, we'll have to just copy paste this. So now it has a nice font, uh, and the overall look of the form page becomes a bit nicer. We can add some more optional tags, like there is a tag called border radius. Can give a radius to a border like 5 pixel. It gives a shape of a rounded border. uh, if I increase it, it will be more visible. The border becomes rounded. This thing makes the page look somewhat better in many of the cases where we want to use some custom styles. So after that, we'll be designing the submit button. So we might add a border radius to the submit button, 15 pixel. 15 pixel, I think 10 pixel border radius is fine here. So another thing, that there is a border, uh, we can see a thick border in the submit button. So if we don't want that, we can actually remove it for by adding border none. What will this do? It will remove the border in the submit, but we might want to keep a 1 pixel thin border there, as it looks kind of odd. So I'll give a 1 pixel border, 1 pixel solid black. So just so it matches with the other page, other parts of the page. So now what we can do is, we can we can improve the text box inputs of the form. For that, we need to add CSS to the dot input tags. What will I do in that case? I will add a few border. I will first remove the border of this input tag. So I'll add border none. What will that do? The border of every tag is removed, all the inputs is removed. Now what we'll do, I will add border bottom, 1 pixel solid black. Let's see what it does. It looks like more of an underline than a text input. So this thing looks better than the standard text input. So we can see that when we click on the text field, we get the entire border. So if we want to remove that, we can also remove that by giving outline none here. That thing is also removed now. So these things are possible to add in CSS. Another thing we can do is, when we hover over the submit button, we can change the cursor. That is a optional attribute. So we can set cursor as pointer. What it will do, that it will change the cursor to a pointer. These things actually improve the overall CSS of the entire form. So now, for a bit of final things, I will add a border. I will add a background to this form, and for a background, I can add some solid colors in this form. So I'll be adding using the background CSS property, and I'll be giving it a color, background color. And after that, maybe a blue color to start with. Now it will look blue. So we might not like this color. So we can come to the browser console. Okay. and then pick the color that looks good with the form. So if we choose the color, we can find the colors by selecting, dragging these sliders. We can add a bit of transparency also by dragging these. So I think this looks decent, and I can add this here. So this thing gets applied to the entire form. Now what I can do, I can add this color to the text, to the inputs also, such that they doesn't look different from the entire form. So for that I can use this same property to the inputs also. So by this they also look similar to this, to the container. After this we we can add a color to the submit button. To add color to a submit button, we can use background color, and maybe we can even change the colors. As I said, we can select the button and we can change the colors from the sliders. So this this looks cool. So let's make it a little bit darker if we want. Okay, so this looks fine. So this is a very basic form that I have just added the CSS in. We can add many more CSS. CSS is a very vast topic. So for today, this I think this much CSS is fine. We'll be having another session sometime later. So if you have any doubts, you can ask it in the chat or you can unmute. And in general, if you have any doubts, you can always ask in the Discord. Okay. So I hope you learned something in the session. So yeah, so that's all.